Hi, everyone. I'm Hwang Lynch, Content Manager here at CAAM, and I'm thrilled to be here for our presentation of At the Dinner Table. We're going to be talking about a series of short films that explore the power of food in our lives. But before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge our wonderful co-presenters, which are organizations that support and uplift diverse communities. They are Pinterest Asians, Angel Island Immigration Station Foundation, UCLA Asian Pacific Alumni Association, Mixed Asian Media, APAL, Building API Community Power, and the Chinese Community Health Plan. And for this program, we would also like to thank Verizon. Programs like CAMFest 2021 and our other events and broadcasts throughout the year are made possible by supporters around the world. Help us bring Asian American stories to light. Donate or become a CAAM member at our secure website, CAAmedia.org. And for a limited time, new members can save 15% on our friend and supporter level memberships using the code Celebrate-Stories. Now, let's talk about At the Dinner Table. 5 short films about food and family, which we all know go hand in hand for Asian Americans. We will be bringing up the makers of each film separately. And in a few minutes, we will start with our first filmmaker, who is Lina Li with Have You Eaten?, which is a beautiful documentary which takes us into the lives of Lina and her mother at home. Hi, Lina.
Hi, Grace. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. I really loved this film. It felt so personal and intimate, like we were right there in your home with your mother and you. Can you tell us a little bit about when you shot it and how it came about?
This film came about really my own feelings during quarantine. Quarantine lockdown started for me middle of March 2020 last year. And it was during this time that I had to return home, having lived on my own for a while for school. And it was really during this time, as much as there's so much chaos around the world, my mother really appreciated that all of my 4 family members were under one roof, safe and healthy. And she put a lot of extra effort in trying new recipes, trying to cater to us, making sure that even though we can't go out, we're well fed. So this idea really came about when I was reflecting at our own dinner table what food really means. Because anytime I think about family, I think about food, whether that's when I was a child back in China or now here. I'm in Canada. Well, I just always think about food, and I think food is a language of love, even though at times my mom and I speak different language, as I'm raised in the West and she's raised in the East.
Yeah, and literally, have you eaten is the way so many Asians greet each other and ask. It's like, how are you for so many of us? So it's really lovely. I was wondering, was it hard to get your mother to agree to be filmed?
I had to talk her into it because I was so bored during quarantine, and she knew that I wanted something to do. And it just so happened that there was an opportunity that came about, and the National Film Board of Canada was doing this COVID initiative for filmmakers that are at home to see where we are at, our homemade stories. And this opportunity came up, and I'm actually really grateful to have this chance to have this formal structure to sit down with my mom and have a 2-hour interview, because in this 2-hour interview, even though it was at home, she was my mother, but at the same time my interview subject, and I was the filmmaker. So we had to hold this conversation, as much as there were parts that were uncomfortable, because a lot of it is about our generation barrier, our cultural barrier, and just even we talked about our fights when I was a teenager. But because we had to make this film and finish this 2-hour interview and all of my list of questions, we had to tackle these challenging topics.
That's great. Sometimes it's beautiful when you have kind of an external structure that brings these conversations about. That's really great. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in the food that she's making, and she was making some really delicious looking, was it chive and egg dumplings?
Yes.
Can you tell us about it?
Yes, I'm very lucky because our family were from northern China, so dough food in general and dumplings is something that's very, very important to us. We eat it all the time, and my mom just so happened to be very, very fast and talented at making them. So first, it started off with the chives that we raised. She grew in our own backyard.
Yeah.
So the film starts off with her getting the chives from our garden, and then she brings it in and she goes through this whole process. And I think food is such an intimate thing because now that I've gotten older, I help her with it, and this is a bonding time for us. So I didn't want to overcomplicate by showing our actual conversation with a sit-down interview, but rather show the whole process of making food, because making food together and eating together, that means so much to us.
Yeah,
So yeah,
so
dumpling.
important. Yeah, so important to so many of us. Well, thank you, Lina. We enjoyed the film, and I was wondering if you can tell us, do you have a website or some social media handles where we can follow the film and learn more about it?
Yeah, for sure. My Instagram is at Lina the Creature. It's a handle from middle school.
All right, thank you so much. Lina, stay with us because we'll bring you back on to say goodbye at the end of our program. But right now, we're going to say goodbye for a little bit, and we're going to bring up the maker of the next film, which is KOTO, The Last Service, which follows the Maeda family at their final dinner after 40 years running their Japanese restaurant in Campbell River, Vancouver Island. I'd like to bring up director Joella Cabalu. Hi, Joella.
Hi, Grace. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Joella, I'm wondering, you're from Vancouver Island, or you're from Vancouver. Is the restaurant KOTO, is this a restaurant that you have been familiar with, or how did you get to know it?
Yeah, so I'm actually based in the traditional and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. That's known as Vancouver in Canada, Turtle Island. I actually have never been to Campbell River, which is on Vancouver Island, which is a ferry and a 4-hour drive from where I live. But I'm good friends with Kenji Maeda, who is the son in the family of the Maeda family. And it was by his invitation, when his family decided to close the restaurant after nearly 40 years in operation, that he invited me and my cinematographer, Malena Salazar, to come and document the final days of the service. So it was actually quite bittersweet to be there, because it's such great food and it was such a wonderful community atmosphere. But I'm also so grateful to have had that opportunity to experience that.
Wow. Can you describe what that community is like? It looks like a pretty rural community, and you said it's it's a little bit a ways out of the city of Vancouver, which is a very urban and diverse place. But I'm curious to learn more about Campbell River.
Yeah, so like I said, it's a ferry ride and then a 4-hour drive from the city of Vancouver on Vancouver Island, which is on the west coast. And Campbell River, that was my first time to visit it as well. So it's a small, it's known as a small fishing town. So like I said, on the west coast, so it's known for its fishing industry. And it's what I was kind of remarked at is, for Kenji's family, to my kind of observation, they were kind of like the only Asian or Japanese family, at least maybe I'm biased because I was in the restaurant the whole time, but a lot of the people that came to the restaurant are Indigenous and non-Indigenous folks. So it's, but I quickly saw how tight-knit the community is, and that the restaurant really acted as a hub for many of the community to come together. And it was great to see, like, over the course of, the lunch and dinner service, family members, relatives would run into each other in the restaurant and didn't even know that they were all having dinner there. So they would visit each other at each other's booths and tables. So it was really wonderful to see something that I don't get to see a lot in the city.
Yeah. What was it like to shoot this all in one day and knowing that it's the last day of the restaurant? So there's no way to go back and redo it.
Yeah, that was like a unique challenge for sure. We cut the film into so that it looks like one day, but we were there for a day and a half, so we were able to shoot 2 dinner services and a lunch service. But yeah, that was a challenge. So being able to capture as much as possible. So I credit that a lot to Milena. We work a lot together, and so we kind of have a shorthand. But also credit to Kenji, because while he was working behind the sushi bar, was able to tell us like, oh, you should really speak to this person in that booth. They mean a lot to our family and the community. So really, it was a lot of running around, but it was such a joy. And I have to say that we also tried to make time to eat.
Did you try the sockeye salmon sushi? I was wondering about
the
that.
The Campbell River roll, what they're known for. Yeah, we got a chance to eat that. And I joke because there's some scenes in the film where I'm in the background. I'm like in the corner and I'm like trying to finish eating and I'm trying not to get in the shot. And I feel bad because it seems like Milena did all of the work, but I'm like, I'm just taking a break.
Everyone needs to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Be understanding. Well, thank you, Joella. Would you tell us how we can follow the film, or if you have any social media handles?
Yeah, so you can follow updates about the film on my website. So that's joellacabalu.com. And you can also follow me on Instagram at joellacabalu.
Okay, thank you, Joella.
Thanks so much.
It's time to move on to our next film, which is LUNAR, the Jewish Asian Film Project, which is a documentary series exploring Asian American Jews. So I'd like to introduce filmmaker Jared Chiang-Zeizel and creative director Jenni Rudolph. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Grace.
Nice to have you here, and congratulations on debuting your series. I was wondering if you could tell us how the whole concept came about.
The whole concept came about when our producer, Jen Slosberg, reached out to me on Facebook after seeing me in a viral YouTube video where I talked about my mixed race identity. And she was like, we have the same background. We should hop on a Zoom call, find other people with the same background and talk about it. And we're both Chinese and Ashkenazi Jewish. And from that one initial video, we decided to expand it to a series. We got some grant funding from the Jews of Color Initiative, and we expanded it to just all Asian American Jews, not just Chinese Jews. And through this project, we've created this lovely community of folks from this intersection of Asian American and Jewish. And it's been amazing just having this community and meeting all these folks who share this intersection.
Wow. And Jared, tell us how you became involved.
So I became involved, pretty much I saw a posting on, I think it was Instagram, looking for participants for the filming of the project. And I had met Jenni probably like a year ago for another sort of mixed Asian project. And before I could actually respond to be a participant, I had an email from Jenni asking if I wanted to, help work on the project in sort of a filmmaker capacity.
Great. And you filmed this during the pandemic, is that right? What was that like?
Yeah, the whole project took place over the pandemic because our idea for it sort of grew in the spring, and then we got the grant funding over the summer. So we've only existed throughout the pandemic, and it's actually been perfect timing because both of our communities, Asian API community and Jewish community, have been through so much this past year. So having this like dual community where we could connect both heritages at the same time has been much needed. I know I really needed this, and it's really helped me to heal and process everything and have a community I can lean on. And it also enabled us to, collaborate with people from all over, rather than, if we were filming in person, that would limit us to just one region of people. But because we were filming all through Zoom, that was actually kind of a blessing in disguise, because we were able to include people from the South and the Midwest and the East Coast, West Coast, and even people abroad. So yeah, it's been incredible.
Yeah, it's too bad that you can't get together with all the people who were interviewed, because all of the foods they were describing sounded delicious and I wanted to try all of them.
We will make it happen. We're talking about it someday.
Jared, would you tell us what are some of the other topics in the series?
So yeah, we start with food, which is a nice sort of introduction, and obviously everyone loves food, and it's sort of the communal aspect. But then we do dive into some more sticky topics dealing with otherism and racism, and the idea of feeling included, and just both the struggles, but also the positives of having this sort of unique, mixed identity of being both Asian and Jewish.
Thank you. Well, we look forward to being able to catch up with some of the other episodes. Can you tell us where we can follow you and find them?
Yes, our Instagram is at asian.jews, which is also our Facebook. And all of our episodes are on our IGTV and also on YouTube, which is at youtube.com/asianjews.
Great. Thank you. And I should also mention that we have a great Q&A with Jared on the CAAM blog. So if you go to the CAAM website and look up LUNAR, you can read that as well. Well, thank you to both of you for joining us, and we'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next group we're going to bring up is going to be director and producer Janet Chen. She is the creator of the film Phoenix Bakery, Sweets for the Sweet, which is a documentary about a historic bakery in LA Chinatown. Thank you, Janet.
Oh, thank you, Grace. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. And Janet is also not only a filmmaker, but she's the assistant director of ethno-communications at UCLA. So you make films and you're also teaching people. And I'm wondering what drew you to Phoenix Bakery and why now?
Yeah, well, Phoenix Bakery is definitely known in the LA and Orange County areas. It's an institution. It's now been there more than 80 years. And also just the work that they have done for the community. They're in Chinatown in Los Angeles. And I go into this a little bit in the film, but the family also was able to be part of founding the, sorry, that's my dog. They were also part of founding the Cafe Bank, yeah, and East West Banks. So I think just the work they've done in the community, and we were looking for, we wanted to do a food section next for the series, Chinese American History series that UCLA Asian American Studies is doing. And it was really just a natural fit for Phoenix Bakery to be featured.
Will there be other food episodes or other food segments?
I wish. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of food shows and food films. I don't know. I think it's still going to get developed, but I believe the next topic we're doing is the railroad workers, so Chinese railroad workers. Yeah, we've the first one we did was about the Chinese herbalist, and then we progressed into food, and the next one will be the railroad workers.
Oh, yeah, all important. I couldn't help but feel a little bit worried about the bakery when I was watching the film, that there seemed to be a sense of urgency of, will the bakery continue to operate as the owners become advanced in age, and will the younger generation and maybe even the third generation take over? Are there any updates since the film was made?
Yeah, definitely. The interesting thing was we started, filming with them a year or before the pandemic even happened. So it really, that I think that urgency might be that you felt, I think also is connected to the pandemic. And but they definitely already were thinking about succession plans and talking to family members and the different generations. When the pandemic happened, I think that urgency switched to pandemic mode for a lot of mom and pop shops and restaurants of just surviving. And they luckily, because with community support, they've been able to kind of survive and continue on. And so the succession plan has kind of paused while the family's been kind of going through that. But I think it really, I mean, and for me, when the pandemic started happening, I think the film for me turned into just also hoping to prompt people to go to the Chinatowns of this country and the ethnic neighborhoods to support those mom and pop shops. So I hope it will do that and turn more attention to that.
Well, it certainly looked delicious. I really wanted to try the strawberry cake watching that film. So I think that, if anyone's watching this at home and you live within, the distance that you can get to Phoenix Bakery, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who will want to try it out.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's places in Chinatown in the Bay Area too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Similar stories are going on in this area as well. So thank you for calling attention to them. Well, we are going to shift gears now. Janet, before we leave, could you tell us where to follow either yourself online or where we can stay updated about this project at UCLA?
Sure. The film I mentioned is a part of the Chinese American History series. So it's going to be on UCLA Asian American Studies Center's website eventually. But for updates, you can follow my website. It's janetchenfilm.com, and I will keep folks updated on the film on there. Okay.
It's been great to talk to you, Janet. Stand by and we'll say bye to everybody at the very end. But right now, it is time to bring on our final film, which is the animated short, Let's Eat. I don't think anybody had a dry eye after watching this film, which compacts the entire spectrum of emotions between a mother and a daughter into 8 minutes. So I'd like to introduce director Dixon Hwang and producer Amy Kuo of Animon Studios.
Hi, Grace.
Hello.
Thanks for having us. It's an honor. Yeah.
Such an honor.
Thank you for making this film. It's just such a poignant story, and I think one that everybody can relate to. And it's so interesting how, there is definitely a mode of expression where the older generation communicates to the younger generation through food, and we see a lot of younger people reflecting on that and then going back and telling stories about how this expression played out in their lives.
Yeah. Totally. That was our experience while making Let's Eat, reflecting on our lives, being like, what did we do to deserve our parents?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, Dixon, I believe you wrote this story. So could you tell us a little bit about the process of writing it and deciding, what to include and how to shape it?
Sure. Yeah. So the inception was actually so Amy and I actually met in school, and we were doing these small projects, animation projects, and then we wanted to think about what we wanted to do next, and then she wanted to do something about food. So that kind of sparked the idea and what food meant to me. And we just started brainstorming and writing, and then we're here. So it was quite a journey, but it was a lot of ideas. The story changed a lot throughout the process. We had probably 20 different versions of the story until we got here. Yeah.
Oh, really? Can you tell us about what some of the process drafts look like?
Yeah, so some of the drafts were more like Asian identity, like some of the stories, but then didn't really fit, I guess, what I was trying to say. I guess what I wanted to say was more so kind of showing appreciation for our parents, you know, well, especially for immigrant parents, they really left their hometown, you know, for a better life. It's kind of crazy what they did. So I don't know what it's going to be like to be in their shoes, but I can only show appreciation. So that was my goal, at least. Yeah.
And Amy, how do you visually approach a film like this? And I see that you have background working in really big, adventurous movies, and then to turn to like a quieter movie like this one. Like, how do you use those tools and express the things that you are trying to express?
Yeah, well, I definitely want to do a disclaimer. When Dixon and I started this film, 4 years ago, I think we just had under a year of just learning everything about animation. So when we made this, we actually had no idea what we were doing.
You can tell, it looks great.
Yeah, I know you can't tell. And I'm really proud of that. I think a lot of people helped us along the way. We were making it. So like, you know, me as a producer, I had never produced anything before. And I hadn't, you know, worked at Industrial Light and Magic, and I hadn't worked at Tonka House yet. Mm-hmm. And so I had a lot of mentors, and they guided me and Dixon to, you know, creating this film, and our team as well. So I don't really have a clear answer for that, because at the time, I think we were very kind of torch in the wind, learning, like we don't know what we're doing, but we're going to do it anyways. So yeah, that's my answer.
Well, I'm glad you did it. It's a beautiful film, and you know, I think you guys are an inspiration to other aspiring and emerging filmmakers. So you know, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Can you tell us how to follow you or follow the film online, if you have a website or any social media handles?
Yeah, so our social media handle on Instagram is Let's Eat Short Film, and you can also find our website along kind of the same lines, and as well as on Twitter and Facebook. But yeah, find updates there. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It was wonderful to talk to you. Right now, we're going to bring all our filmmakers back to say goodbye to everybody, and just pop everybody back on screen. And on behalf of everybody at CAAM, I want to thank you for listening in to this conversation about At the Dinner Table. And I hope that you will take some time to explore all of the offerings that CAAMFest has throughout the festival this year. And I'm sure we're all really hungry right now after these discussions. So I hope you get something delicious to eat. And we will see you around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone.